To explain to you what the Sophia is in this video and to understand what we've been seeing come out of the ground in Mexico, it's a gap. You know, there's the Holy Ghost, the Holy Mother, the Divine Spirit, the Divine Mother. There's all these different names: Inanna, Ishtar, Isis, the Marys. There's all these different female reproductive goddesses. Ninhursag, Aphrodite. You know, no matter where you go, there seems to be this reproductive goddess. And I think we're starting to understand this. This piece coming out of the ground here, as you can see, this multi-armed figure holding up this disc. Well, it maybe was a disc at one point. It maybe was deliberately made fractured. The story of Sophia is a divine heavenly mother that falls from heaven and in the process creates what's called the Demiurge, the lion-faced twin serpent. And she fell into the material world as the Demiurge trapped her and entangled her in time. And I believe this is why we have the many incarnations of all the different names of this female reproductive goddess. You can see here from the 6th century a Gnostic gem carved with this being, supposed the Sophia. And I think these gems were very, very powerful. And to see this carving come out of the ground in Mexico, as well as this one down in Bolivia, I have to say I see the similarities. And the multi-arms represent, you know, being able to work in the heavenly and the material worlds at the same time, being able to manage and handle all these acts of creation. You know, there's stories of the Gorgon. They look strangely familiar to the Anunnaki. And with these bull horns that we see, the different stars, the Venus star, that is, you know, all over the place, Star of Inanna. This is in Mexico, you know, right in Tula, on one of the main pyramids there in Tula. So to see that symbol so predominant here as well as in Mesopotamia, it's one of the similarities that we see. You know, this is another one, the Father Crespi collection from Ecuador. And when you look at that being, we always thought it was a bird. Well, it could be the feathered serpent based on the drawings there. Seeing the cow in the middle of this upside down pyramid with a pyramid on top of it, or the opposition of forces, I believe is what it stands for, the seal of Saturn. These 7-headed beings all over the world. What it represents with the bull horns all over the world. The Vikings, the barbarians sported the bull horns, but same with Egypt and Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki. The 3-headed false trinity that we see. These trunked beings we see depicted as elephants, but in Mexico we see it as braided tentacles on these alien-esque beings. So at some point after a reset, did they humanize everything and slightly alter the history to coincide with who we are? Was there all of these experiments and hybrid species and races created at one point in the past? I mean, we don't see a lot of the records of it. But again, if it was small experimentation, it is definitely possible to have disposed with, you know, the products in the most cases. And, you know, the Spanish and, you know, multiple other things went on here before we settled here. So there is an interesting correlation with this area and how it was taken out in terms. Same with, you know, the Crusades all over the world in the name of God and, you know, to get rid of this stuff, basically. So I think what we're seeing is the traces of some of the stuff that they got rid of. You know, a lot of the places in Mexico, looks like they weren't buried for 10,000 years, even though the item is carbon dating at 10,000 years. People are like, no, that has not been buried that long. And I totally agree. A lot of this stuff was buried by the Spanish not that long ago. A lot of it was buried by the Toltecs before the Spanish came, not that long ago. So we have to remember that this area went through a great change. And I believe some of these hybrids and some of these experiments may have actually occurred. And this divine female, she definitely has more to the story. Her many incarnations teach us something. And we saw her holding up that disc, and we saw the symbol, and we've now dated this symbol at ancient times from multiple pieces, one being as much as 40,000 years old potentially. This symbol is all over in many different forms, and we see it on the forehead of quite a few skulls, and we have reason to believe that its potential is that it is the mark of the Demiurge, or the mark of the beast. And she may be that beast, and it would make a lot of sense because she's the one that raised up the reptilian armies in the Anunnaki text. Her name is Tiamat, the one who fell into chaos. And I think understanding the chaotic world that we live in may give us more insight of what's actually happening around us, and with the times that be, and the weird, I won't say weird, but I'll say the unorthodox logic in many of the decisions going on at different places in the world. It makes one wonder, what is the logic here? Or how is this common sense even plausible? And but seeing this, the Mayan calendar, everybody got scared in 2012 that the world was going to end, and it may have for the reign of the Demiurge, rather than being the world and the physical. It may have been the current age, and the age of the Demiurge may have ended at that time, and things did start to change at that period. It's only a theory, one of many, but it's definitely something that I look at. Seeing all these illustrations, some of it's hard to argue. It's such a detail. The amount of man hours it would take to pull off something like this, to make this many stones. That's the real proof. Till next time.